What happened to Chrono Odyssey, the awesome looking MMORPG being developed by Chrono Studio? Recently at GDC, we got a bunch of new information about the game that just dropped, such as its platforms, additional gameplay features, and a new Unreal Engine 5 trailer showcasing the game. This is a game that we've been keeping our eyes on because if you remember, the original gameplay trailer blew everyone's socks off with its amazing graphics, its awesome looking combat, and it featuring large-scale raids that we MMO players have been yearning for. Out of all of the MMOs on the horizon, this one looks like it could be a top tier contender, but we don't know enough at the moment. So we thought it would be a good idea to wrap up all of this information for you if you've missed it into one handy video along with a recap, because it has been a while since we've heard anything about this game. There's been some real bangers releasing recently, so we wouldn't blame you in case you forgot about it, but let us know what you're thinking about the game and if you're looking forward to this one. Let's kick it off with all of the cool gameplay stuff that we learnt about during the GDC presentation. We have previously known that Chrono Odyssey would allow players to manipulate time during battle, with players being able to rewind and stop time, but something new that we saw in this one is that players will be able to access the world of Cetera, because the game world is actually set in different forms with a past, present, and future. They actually showed how the game handles this by showing a split of the world in 2 different time zones. The developers have mentioned that we'll be able to use our powers to seamlessly travel between these worlds in order to save them, as they'll have different data layers for each world. If they actually can pull this off and it is impactful to the game itself, this could be a really cool thing to see, and they have said that we can take advantage of this in battle by skipping to another time zone. Something that we're always eager to learn about in MMOs though is of course the classes, as that's what we play, and we have previously seen some of them in the trailer and they did look really cool. In the new presentation, however, we got confirmation that there will be 6 different classes with 18 weapons in total. We've done a bunch of digging around and it isn't very clear on how these weapons will actually change the classes and their gameplay. But we do know that each class will allow the player to switch between 2 weapons seamlessly, as it was mentioned in a blog post from Xbox Wire in 2023 where they said each class can select 2 weapons for real-time switching, providing you with numerous combat styles to pioneer. As a result, each class can take on a unique role, further expanding the range of options available to you. As you progress, you'll form a playstyle that reflects your personality, which will shape how you enjoy Chrono Odyssey. So outside of these weapons, there are 6 classes that will be in the game, and they are the Swordsman, the Ranger, the Sorcerer, the Berserker, the Paladin, and the Assassin. We don't have an actual official description of these classes yet, but we have seen from previous gameplay what they're looking like. The Swordsman will be a more defensive class that will have access to blocking and parrying attacks, with a focus on inflicting stuns on enemies using a shield. So this one is more for the tanky boys out there, and it'll be interesting to see how and if the playstyle changes with the weapon, or if it just lets you lean into being a more tanky playstyle. We'll have to see what those weapon varieties are saying. The Ranger is your classic archer type of playstyle, but it is more mobile looking than a traditional static archer class that you see in a lot of other MMOs, so we're looking pretty down for this one and we can't wait to learn more. The Sorcerer, just like the Ranger, looks like your traditional magic class archetype that you would expect to see in other MMOs. The Sorcerer is kind of like a mage with a heavy focus on elemental attacks and the ability to do crowd control spells. For those of you that liked the look of the Swordsman but wanted something a bit more offensive, then we have the Berserker, which looks like it replaces the shield and that defensive playstyle for some big swings to destroy enemies. This one is definitely looking exciting to me, but then we have another very exciting looking class. The Assassin looks like it's going to be busted, and during the gameplay footage, it's actually one of the classes that gives a clear demonstration of how weapon switching will impact the flow of gameplay. We got to see in this footage where the player switches between daggers for a close range combat option, and then backs off to use a gun from a range. Just from looking at this one, we think it's going to be quite a popular class. But lastly for these classes is the Paladin, which while we don't play this one ourselves very often in MMOs, we've always respected players that do, because they often offer tanking, healing, and in other games even a very high damage output when used correctly. This looks like it's going to be in that same realm, but we did also get to see them switch to a spear for some extra range and damage. They are all looking pretty cool to be honest, but which one is looking good to you guys? Another thing that was highlighted in the presentation was the character creator, as the developers have showcased a short snippet of gameplay and some examples of the creator, showing a pretty vast amount of options that we will have available. We always appreciate a good character creator in games, as we hate it when you really fall in love with a game's gameplay but the characters you make are super limited or basic, so we're really happy that you can at least make something acceptable. Now, we have already spoken about being able to switch between the different versions of the world in the past, present and future, but in addition to this, we know that the world will be a seamless open world and that its size will be around 12 kilometers, which is about the same size as most open world games like Horizon or Skyrim. And then outside of the presentation, we also got information on the publisher of the game about its monetization for the game's release. For clarity, this is going to be separate from any microtransactions or anything like that, which hasn't been announced. But in a press release from GDC, Chrono Games have said that Chrono Odyssey will be a buy-to-play open-world action MMORPG. They're focused on delivering a AAA online gameplay experience for PC and console gamers. It's going to be set in a vast, immersive fantasy world, and Chrono Odyssey offers players a unique journey through time and space filled with what they are calling epic quests, dynamic combat, and intricate storytelling. It's set to have stunning visuals powered by Epic Games' Unreal Engine 5, a robust character creator, and engaging combat mechanics which allows players to manipulate time and space. They're essentially aiming for Chrono Odyssey to redefine the MMORPG genre and provide us players with what they're saying will be an unforgettable adventure for years to come. They go on to say that the collaboration between Kakao Games and Chrono Studio represents a strategic alliance aimed to bring Chrono Odyssey to a global audience. Of course, that's good for us in the West. They say Kakao Games is the publisher of choice for Chrono Studio's ambitious MMORPG, and that they will have comprehensive support in localization, marketing, and community engagement to ensure the success of Chrono Odyssey in international markets. They're essentially saying that with Kakao Games' expertise in extensive networking and global publishing, even we in the West can look forward to experiencing Chrono Odyssey's massive world on a global scale. Normally, publishers aren't something that the average gamer would care about, but people are not too happy with Kakao Games taking this one on, as they have a horrible track record with handling MMOs, which shoehorned in pay-to-win elements and were just managed bad as a whole, with a lot of those MMOs then tanking after their involvement. So even though this MMO is looking really good, it could end up being one that we have to bin off if the publisher gets too heavy-handed with it, because due to their track record, we can't see this one turning out well. We are of course still hoping that this one turns out to be good and fun without those worries, and hopefully they take on a bit more of a hands-off approach with this game being a buy-to-play game, because if this was planned as a free-to-play game instead, then you would kind of expect some form of heavy monetization. But of course, only time will tell. We'll have to wait and see. Here is the latest trailer for you to enjoy in its full glory with sound and everything, so let us know how you're feeling about Chrono Odyssey at the moment. Are you hopeful or just disappointed at the recent news?